JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. July 9th, 2024. We have about 50 minutes to the open. Oh, 40 minutes, excuse me. It's 8:50. Going to talk really quick about the markets, names I'm looking at, and go from there like I always do. Take a look at the S&P up 5 sessions in a row, 5 consecutive closing record highs. That hasn't happened since January. And leave it to Market Watch and some of these other financial publications to start posting these bearish spins on the market, right? It's easy to do it at highs. Most people, when they see when they're at highs, when the market's at highs, people are looking for reasons for the market to pull back. At some point there'll be some kind of substantial pullback. I think it's 350 days since the last 2% pullback on the S&P. It's going to happen at some point, but who knows? Uh, SPY closed above that upper Bollinger Band, so watching like 554 or so, maybe we get a little pullback there. And then this morning, Powell starts his 2-day testimony, first in front of Congress, then the House committee tomorrow, Financial Services Committee. He usually has prepared remarks, so I'm surprised. I don't know if it came out yet. It maybe comes out at 9 o'clock, might come out at 9:30, where Powell will have his prepared remarks. And traditionally, that's the only thing that might possibly move markets. The rest of it is just garbage, where you have politicians trying to make themselves look important by asking questions they probably don't even know why they're asking. So we'll see. I think usually I thought 8:30, so maybe it's 9 or 9:30. Powell will come out with some comments. I don't think there's going to be anything ground shaking. And that's that. So then we have CPI data Thursday morning, and then we have PPI data on Friday morning, along with the kickoff of the Q2 earnings season with some of the banks. So things should get interesting. Last but not least, and I keep bringing up the small caps, finally, some outperformance relative to the S&P. I shouldn't say finally. It outperformed the S&P last week at times and then underperformed the S&P back over that 50-day moving average on the IWM. 202.40 was the spot to look at. And of course, small caps are selling off here this morning. So we'll see if they hold. And then some of these headlines. So this is Market Watch. A triple whammy threat is building for U.S. stocks. I think I put this on the watch list. I'll post it here in the chat room. A triple whammy. And then you start looking at all the little other pieces here. Stocks likely headed for a 10% pullback in the third quarter. And we're in the third quarter. So, and then stock market breadth may have peaked with investors sniffing out economic weakness. So it's kind of, you can create a story and narrative around anything that's going on right now. And some of the economic data, you see the jobs report came in weaker than expected. So, adds to that argument that, hey, maybe we're near a recession, right? Stocks likely head for a 10% pullback. And then here's the other little tidbit, and this from Ryan Dietrich on FinTwit. Great little piece. 345 days since the last 2% pullback, which is pretty impressive. All right, so that's the overall market. Let me get some individual names. First, I'll talk about Universal Display. I said this the last couple weeks when I had some strikes. Finally, I had some calls yesterday. This refresh in regards to the trend with AI, where folks are going to have to possibly be more apt to upgrade their phones, and there will be some refresh cycle. A name like Universal Display probably has some really strong tailwinds. I mean, the stock is up from 180 all the way up to 220 just over the last month and a half. I think it heads to 235 plus. I talked about it on the rants the last couple of weeks. 255, it's all time high. It's a name that I think has room to run. So I added some strikes yesterday. I'll look to close some of the calls out to cover costs when I get a chance and go from there. AMD, another name I've been talking about on the rant for the last couple of weeks. At some point, I figured it was going to do some kind of move that it did back in March. It went from 180 to 230. It's been, I guess I would call it a catch-up play, right? You see NVIDIA, Supermicro, all these other names in the semi space just rallying, and AMD has been kind of stuck since the start of May. And then sure enough, it starts to rally on Thursday. Actually, I think it was 4th of July weekend, right? So Wednesday had a nice rally. Then Friday, some continuation. And then yesterday, up nearly 4%. It's down here in the pre-market. There was a downgrade by KeyBank. Well, not a downgrade. They lowered their price target to two. I think it was 220. I have to go Yeah, 220 from 230, which I mean the stock's at 178. So maybe just adjusting there. I don't know if that's just some profit takers coming in right now in the pre-market, but if it can't hold 177, I'll lock the rest of my strikes in, my July 19th calls, and revisit. But if it holds here, I think 185, 190 is coming in the coming days. So I'll continue to hold AMD. China, finally, China markets closed up overnight, and maybe this is the day that some of these China ADRs can start to get going. Still a huge pincher on Baidu. At some point, this is, it's $100. Yeah, $100, 115. So I'll continue to look for Baidu for some opportunities there to play for upside. Chewy is just so it got downgraded this morning by Argus Research. I just see it downgrade from buy to hold. I don't see a price target. So $24 here is probably the floor. And then if it can kind of hold 24 today, I'll look for some more strikes. I was looking at the filing for Roaring Kitty, Keith Gill. His filing, it states it came out July 1st, but the date of record is June 24th, which is last Monday when all the premiums went haywire on the calls. And that's when I had calls the previous Friday. Then that Monday they started going bonkers. I averaged down on calls, which I rarely do. And then the rest is history. Made some nice bucks there on Chewy, but it kind of goes to show he was probably in the calls or exercise the calls around $24. So he's pretty much flat right now. You have to think he's going to do some kind of live stream. I don't think he's out to flip 9 million shares in Chewy, right? I don't think that's his what he has in mind when he got the 6.6% stake in Chewy. I think it's more of a longer term thing where he thinks, just similar to me, I think it's fairly valued. Well, I say undervalued. I think 35.40, and then if not higher in the coming months. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to play Chewy. Not going to talk too much here about DELL. Nice strong session yesterday, up 5%. You looked at still holding that bottom support line that I've had on. Let's see here. Whoop, that I've had on my annotations for quite some time. Not going to add any more strikes at today, but if it continues to break out, maybe I'll look for some calls to encompass earnings. Square. What else to say about Square? Block, excuse me. Keep the 200-day moving average at 65. Every time it breaks over 65, it seems like sellers come in and push it back down. It's kind of it's frustrating to watch, right? It looks like every time it looks like it's ready to break out, folks come in. Not only that, you have the 50 days at 67.21. So if it finally can break and hold that 65 handle, 67.21 breaks, I think it's off to the races, up near 70 plus. That's Square. And then last but not least, here is Wingstop, and Wingstop down over nearly 3% yesterday. No news or catalyst. I've been saying this for the last couple sessions in regards to the casual dining sector. All these names have been taking a beating, right? So you have McDonald's, DRY, Yum Brand, Shake Shack. Let me see if I can pull up some of the charts. All of these names have just been destroyed. You take a look at McDonald's in May, was nearly 275. It's down here 250, off another 1.5% yesterday. Then you look at DRI, Darden, you look at Shake. Let's see if I can pull up. I don't have it here. Let's see. Well, Shake Shack actually was in the green yesterday, but I mean the stock is $110 at the back, pretty much the start of May, all the way down to $85. So I just think this is a name that might finally start showing cracks. I don't think it's going to take much, especially if it breaks $400. I think it goes to 380. They did get a price target raised this morning. I forget from what analyst, but still like to hold this not only as a potential play for downside, but also as a hedge, just in case the market does start to sell off. So that's about it, folks. 9 o'clock here on this fine July 9th. I'll be back on audio later. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.